and we're gonna record now. Excellent. Good evening, everybody. We are to be speaking tonight about Central Italy. We done our homework on Toscana and Northern Italy, and now is the time to look at a part of Italy that usually gets overlooked. And Central Italy is in the middle, obviously, between the north and the south. And it's very easy to get confused about the amazing product of this part of the country. I'm gonna get my presentation up. I'm gonna be a real pro, as always, or at least trying. And we should have this one coming in. Hope everybody can see. Please do remember you have controls on Zoom. You can change the way you see the slides and everybody else if you're interested. Please do. Okay. And here we go. We're gonna try to go like that. And I think I won my battle with technology once again. Fantastic. So, as we did last time, we're gonna discuss a bit of what we're not gonna mention during this trip on Central Italy. And obviously, we're not gonna talk about Toscana. We're not gonna talk about Tuscany because we had an entire hour and a half of it last time. And we are not gonna talk about one of the best thing about Central Italy that I experienced myself firsthand is truffle hunting. It's one of the regions, especially in the corridor between Marche, Tuscany, and Umbria. It's one of the regions in Italy in which you get, the best truffles. And Piedmont, obviously, being the most known, and the Alba products being probably the best you can find around. I have to say that Marche, Umbria, Tuscany, part of Lazio, a little bit of Abruzzo, they're also fantastic truffle hunting site. If any one of you is interested, whenever this madness ends, to go and do some truffle hunting, I'm always up for the challenge. We do a little verdicchio tour with truffle hunting. What we're not going to talk is the Elba Island, just off Tuscany, which is a beautiful part of Central Italy. We're not going to talk about Lazio. And the reason why we're not going to talk about Lazio, because unfortunately Lazio has been the center of the world with Rome, but not so much of the wine world. And it is, I have to say, very difficult, although in recent years it's been quite good on this aspect to find, proper, good quality wines worth of finding a space in our selection. One exception made, in my opinion, is a lovely tenuta called Tenuta Fiorano, just outside Rome, that I had the opportunity to visit last year, and they do amazing international grape variety, Bordeaux cut, reds, and we're going to have them very soon in our selection, and it's going to be our little exception. But as I mentioned before, the reason for this is because Rome attracts so many tourists. And we were speaking about that when we spoke about Veneto. So all the wines made all around Rome were to satisfy the demand of the tourists in Rome. So the quality obviously dropped, and the quantity was the most important thing for them, even up to very recent years. So this is the reason why we don't really find the amazing, very good, still very good, obviously high quality. We're not going to talk about Vatican City, which is we should be worth a mention when you talk about Central Italy. We're not going to talk about Urbino or Assisi or all these beautiful hill towns that we find in Central Italy, and they are emblematic of the beauty. And we go few of the photos that you can see there. One of them is Urbino, the other one is Rome and Vatican City, and what we call the Cupolone, the big dome of St. Peter. Assisi on the left-hand side, and Florence, obviously, on the bottom left corner. And I would have loved to talk about all these things, but we just gave you a couple of minutes, and I'm gonna pass on to the lovely Imma. For those of you who don't know Ima and Paolo, they are the team at Meglio di Bere _Vino, which is a couple that are really passionate about Italian wine. They both work at the Claridge's Hotel in London. Ima is a senior sommelier in there, and Paolo is head waiter. And we met by chance in the shop, and we shared our passion for Italian wine, and we came up with the idea of doing this virtual tasting. And I really don't know how I would have done it without them. So thank you again, Ima and Paolo. Ima, tell us about the wines we're not going to talk about today in Central Italy.
Yeah, Central Italy is a really particular part of the peninsula that, as you already mentioned it, yes, is the part that sometimes the people forget about it. They remember only Tuscany, that is part of it, but we do have other region and other main grapes that are worth it to be mentioned. Speaking about Lazio, as you said, they have the Frascati, for example. The Frascati is a denomination in Lazio, but yet they have it's made from Malvasia grapes, so as well Trebbiano. And speaking about Trebbiano, yes, in the central Italy, there are a lot of different clones of Trebbiano. You can find Trebbiano Verde, you can find the Trebbiano d'Abruzzo, and you can find the Trebbiano that have been called in different names. And in the past, it have been really difficult to understand if the Trebbiano had a different little brother around in the middle Italy, or it was only one grape fitting and shaping in a different portion of it. We do have the Lacrima di Morro, where the grapes is Lacrima, is a red grape. We do have the Cerasuolo d'Abruzzo, where the grape is the Montepulciano, but made in a white version. We do have the Pecorino, that is a white grape from Abruzzo as well, that is really lovely, and has a particular name that is coming from the ships, basically. And I would say we did a really a really good job, because we did. We do have this evening some of the most important grape of this part of Italy. We will have the Verdicchio. We will have some Sangiovese as well that we never missing in Italy, and we will have the Montepulciano as well, and a little treat by some of the part that can be considered central of Italy, but should be north of Italy. That is the Albano di Romagna as well.
Yeah, we cheated. We cheated because we included in central Italy the southern part of Emilia-Romagna, the eastern side, which is Romagna, because last time we included in northern Italy Emilia, and I just had to have that wine, and I think he's central Italy, because the place we're talking about is at the same level as Tuscany. So theoretically and practically, it is still central Italy. I just decided this now with my authority of being the leader of this group. Is that correct, Ima? Actually,
yeah, is it? Actually, the Emilia-Romagna is divided in Emilia and Romagna. So we have considered last week Emilia as north, we consider Romagna as central. Makes sense.
Absolutely. And there is Molise on the bottom there that sometimes is contending the central or southern Italian part. But yes, I think we should start, and we should raise our glasses, not only to Ruth, birthday girl in there, but to all of us for yet another lovely Wednesday evening. Ooh, Verdicchio. Right, let's talk about, again, a little bit about the geography, the topographic elements of central Italy. Because in all effects, what's happening in central Italy is quite geometric. You have the Apennine, so the mountain range that is dividing into, the boot of Italy. And then on one side, the Adriatic Sea, on the other side, the Tyrrhenian. And as we learned before, the mountain ranges, together with the sea, they are the perfect storm, if I can use the term, for microclimates. And we know how microclimates are important for the variety of what we can find enologically in Italy. And, again, very, very easy to understand. The mountain is sort of blocking different currents, and is also provoking, winds in a certain way, and pollination happening in a certain way, and some species of plants and animals are to be found, you know, in some particular area that sometimes are very close to each other. So that's, again, we spoke about that before in the previous evening, one of the beauty of Italy and Italian winemaking. Without further ado, let's talk about Verdicchio itself, Marche, beautiful region in the middle of Italy on the Adriatic side. And the Verdicchio is, you know, the grape for, you know, the white grape for Marche. I was watching with lots of interest a program that you had on Instagram a couple of weeks ago on Verdicchio. So I will pass on to you the words on that particular grape, because just I know that you know a little bit better than me how these develop, and you know the various shade of it. And you know, it's a wine that is not an easy one. It's got quite a lot of complexity. And is Verdicchio going to be the new Pinot Grigio for the UK market? What do you think?
Well, I think it's a better. It's not a better wine, but it's a different wine, more complexity in a Pinot Grigio. So if the market is used to something really easy to drink, while the Verdicchio is not, is a more complex element that you can find. And yes, as you say, the Verdicchio has a really bond with the Marche region, because it's basically the only region when you can find it in Italy. There is the possibility to find it a little bit on the border of the side, so you can find it in Romagna as well, a little bit in Abruzzo, but for the majority of the time, you find the Verdicchio really related to the land of the Marche. And speaking of denomination, you can divide the Verdicchio grape into different one that is bigger and another one that is slightly smaller. The bigger one is the Verdicchio dei Castelli di Jesi, that is the one that we will taste this evening, and is a cultivar that you can find especially on all around the coast, the Adriatic coast of the Marche region, and a little bit in the hinterland. So it has a really salty taste and a lot of minerality coming up from this kind of wine, and is really large. We can say for the majority is the most planted grape in the whole Marche. And then you have a little bit a smaller denomination that is that is the Verdicchio di Matelica, that is near Macerata in the hinterland, that can be considered a version of the Verdicchio like a mountain wine. So you have a continental climate, you are far away from the sea, and you do get more acidity in this wine. It's not the one that we will taste today, but if we will ever have the chance, try to find the sparkling version of this Verdicchio, because they are really lovely. The high acidity that you can get give you an amazing balance between the bubbles and the aromaticity of this grape.
Fantastic. This is the purple area, Matelica, in there. But today we're going to talk of the Castelli di Jesi, Verdicchio dei Castelli di Jesi, from a producer, Fattoria Coroncino. And another thing about all the wines, you know, not only being extremely delicious tonight, I have to say, great selection, thank you, Ima, but they're all organic, biodynamic, or in sort of sense, natural. And, you know, quite a lot of attention goes into sourcing and treating the ground and the grapes. So Fattoria Coroncino is a relatively new vineyard from 1981 near to Alcona. And, you know, there is work of the family, you know, Lucia and Fiorella, his wife. They absolutely committed to organic and biodynamic rules, and also their vision focused on the interpretation of the Verdicchio, which is the classic one. And they are actually responsible for quite a lot of the success that the Verdicchio had in the last few years. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's an amazing farm. They are doing an amazing work on the Verdicchio side, and they based their production in local grape. And as you said, yes, they are biodynamical and biological. I mean, they are not certified, but they do work since the beginning of their story as just committed to what is the love to the land that they got, and it's really nice.
Should we explain a little bit for whoever might have this question? I forgot to say, if you want to have a go at interacting with us while we're presenting the wine, or if you have any question, we use the chat option. It should be on the bottom. You should see the chat option, and you can message in there, like I'm gonna do now. From there, who knows if I find this somewhere, anywhere. No, I'm gonna use my alter ego. Here we go. You just go in there, and I can see a message from Bruce now, you know, hello, and you can reply in here. Please send your question in here. I have a question for you. If I didn't know about it, I will ask you what's the difference between organic and biodynamic. It is, again, a subject that could take an entire hour itself, if not day.
It's really difficult to explain in just a few minutes that you give me, but I will try. Biological, biodynamical, they're two different things. When it comes to biological, you have a kind of cultivar, so your action in the vineyard are trying to be as much respectful to the natural environment that can be. So they don't use chemical addiction, and they have a lot of limits in what they can use or what they cannot use. When it comes to biodynamic wines, they use a kind of mystic rules, if I can say in this way. So they are really based their viticulture in everything that is moon movement or specific timing of the plants, or if they have an animal that basically works and live in the vineyard as well itself. So he helps to have a relationship between what is the animal itself.
The ecosystem, the ecosystem around the vineyard. So they're, you know, very, very easy to understand are the relationship between the plants and insects, for example, and the way that they try and control pests instead of using chemicals, by the use of insects and some sort of pollination, or the presence of some species that will not allow other species to influence the final result. So yeah, that sort of ecosystem, and more is in use. Lots of companies, they are not certified biodynamic, or they don't write biodynamic in their label, but they really go for, you know, the rules, and, you know, these particular set of rules that is guiding the movement. And those ones are the wines that we call natural wines, just to give a sort of wide label and enclose it. And it's worth mentioning as well that even if not certified, about 90% of the wine production in Italy nowadays is organic. And that was the first step, you know, about a couple of decades ago, that, you know, was up and coming. Should we taste the wine?
Yeah.
It's got lovely colors. It's deep in color. I always like the fact that sometimes the wine reflects what you're gonna get in the nose in your visual examination. It's sort of like the verdicchio is looking at you and say, "Here, look at my color and get prepared, because now I'm gonna offer you quite a lot on the palate and on the nose."
We have, sorry Bruno, we have a question about the verdicchio. They're asking why it's called verdicchio. Well, the word verdicchio coming from the word verde, that means green, because even when the grapes is ripe, in that moment, during the harvest, still has on the skin a green color. So that's why called verdicchio, because it's verde.
Verde green. Verdicchio. Absolute pleasure.
And voila. So let's back to the tasting, right? I actually have to say that I almost finished it.
Oops. You're not the only one. Mrs. Chernecka here. Yeah, that's gone.
It's finished as well, mine.
Yeah, it's really lovely, isn't it? It got a nice complexity due of the least contact as well, and the alcohol power of this wine, but it's really well balanced in my opinion. And the nose is outstanding for me.
Very, very good.
You can name one thing, I think you can get it, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Just like chamomilla, or you have a lot of honey.
Oh yes, roses, lots of floral.
Yeah.
A lot of flora in there,
And there is honey as well.
dried fruits.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because Paolo earlier this morning, yesterday, when we tried first this wine, it was like, oh, there is some vanilla in it. It was like, no way, this is not vanilla.
But I know exactly why he said it, because he's sort of, you know, if you try this blind, the first thing you think, if you don't know, is Verdicchio, because if you know is Verdicchio, your mind is sort of getting into the gear. But if you don't know, you will think they went through oak. You know, that you will think that there is an element of enrichment of the wine that is deriving from tertiary flavors, but then it's not, because the only thing that this wine saw is stainless steel, and as we know very well, stainless steel doesn't affect the final result of the wine, if not in helping reducing the intensity of it. It doesn't add any flavors to it. And the lees definitely is what causes the complexity, but also the Verdicchio grape by itself, because the Verdicchio grape is notoriously a grape of structure and quite complex as a grape.
Yeah, it's the kind of grape that the people say is a white that is dressed as is a red wine but dressed as a white wine, and is one of the wine in Italy that you can say has a really big potential for aging, due of this complexity. But the evolution itself of this wine is really appropriate. It doesn't go to be tired, but it's kind of renew every time you open a bottle.
And that finish, that nuttiness at the end, that sort of almondy thing, nearly toasty, that we say. Oh, it's lovely. And I hope everybody, you have something nice to eat. Mrs. Cernecca, for the occasion, she just prepared this for me. Just wanted you to, yeah, just for me, not for her, just for me. Here we go. Lovely. Thank you very much. I had a set of very grim tastings before, but finally we raised the bar. Thank you very much, Sonia. That's lovely. Yeah. I getting confused on that one.
Yeah, we have a question, Bruno. It's about wine pairing. And
yes.
They say they can taste oak. Yes, it doesn't do oak, but it's the complexity of the grape itself and the process on the lees, so the contact with the lees that are the dyed yeast during the fermentation that help to give more this kind of a fragrant flavor, no? The same that you can find in the champagne, in a way, or a sparkling wine, a kind of brioche. But I wouldn't say it's really vanilla like last week, for example.
Like that Chardonnay, I can still taste it now. Where is my helmet? I can still taste it now.
Yeah, and what you are pairing with? Some charcuterie, or what you're eating of nice with it?
I will think about fish, but grilled fish. Like when there is sort of the addition of that sort of charcoaly flavor to it. I will just go, you know, very tasty sort of grilled fish myself. Definitely with charcuterie, very good. I would say soft cheeses. As an aperitivo, as you know, Italians, they eat cheese before their meal, mainly, not after, like the Brits do. But we eat cheese anyhow, everywhere. And, you know, the good pairing between cheese and wine is eternal. I would say a nice soft cheese. I think it can sort of withstand the complexity of a meal as well. You know, you can really go through a meal, some nice sauce, some vegetable sauce, anything, you know, cooked on the Italian sort of way. It's like, Barry had a fillet of fish for McDonald's. Would that work?
I don't know.
Cheers, Barry. Well done for that. To be honest, it would. Fillet of fish is one of my favorite, but please avoid the sauce, because that I think will clash heavily with this sort of wine.
Well, fish and chips, so why not? It does have a lovely acidity. It could help.
Yeah, it could. Yes, it could. Everybody ordering McDonald's on Just Eat now, just to try that. If your Verdicchio will absolute profession, Team Magico. All of these, if you can save the wine until there, and this is the reason why we only put 100 ml in the little bottles. Here we go. La bocca è minchia stracca se la minga la vacca. Annalise.
Objection on the cheese. You have an objection.
I would love to understand that part of some strange dialect that I can't recognize. If you can translate that in Italian or English, that'd be great. Something about a cow. And oh, he's from Milan. Sorry, yeah. Sorry, Annalisa. Yeah.
We are not from Milan.
Roberto, please unmute yourself and explain this to us. I can see your disappointment. Please go ahead.
Come on, Bruno. It's not possible that you don't know that.
I don't know that. I've been living most of my life in here.
In English, there is no rhyme in English, but it means the mouth is not tired unless it tastes like a cow. You have to have the cheese at the end, not only at the beginning.
Oh, he's Annalisa. Sorry, I would have given you the microphone, but he was using the biggest form of communication for the Italians. He was on the screen going like, which means, how can he not know? Bruno, what are you talking about? Please, Roberto, mute yourself again. Don't make me do it. Don't make me. Thank you very much. So yes, the cheese needs to be there because you cannot tire your mouth unless you eat some cheese. Correct. Very Italian of you all. Should we get on with the next one? How are we doing with timing? Terribly, as always, because we like to talk. Right. We're talking Umbria now. So we change region. We had Marche, we delighted ourselves with Verdicchio, we love the structure, etc. And then immediately after we decided that you should try Montefalco. You should try Montefalco because, again, Montefalco is one of those wines that are so good, but they get forgotten. I don't know why. You just, you look at the shelves and there is that lot missing in the middle of the shelf, which is Montefalco. And the love for Montefalco comes to me for the fact that I've been lucky enough to be around there and see what they do. And the Sagrantino grape itself, with the expression of Montefalco Sagrantino, which is an even more powerful and muscular version of Montefalco Rosso, is just one of the example of powerful wine, but yet very elegant and sort of full in his own right. And this is dictated mainly by the grape itself and the place in which is grown. Said so, Umbria is a place that is well known for white wine, especially for Orvieto, which is enjoying quite a lot of success internationally and in Italy. But the two top designation, the DOCG designation, and I open a bracket here just to explain again about the nominations and the famous labels on the, one of the sign of good quality is, trusting the denomination DOC or DOCG, which are denomination of origin controlled and denomination of origin controlled and guaranteed, which sort of is guaranteeing to you that the wine is following a set of rules dictated by the consortium of that particular DOC or DOCG denomination. Yes, very fair. Somebody wanted in the taste, Mr. Barry again, very, very active in the chat, was hoping to have some Paolo Bea as an example of Sagrantino, which is probably one of my favorite Sagrantino di Montefalco. The only difference is that the price is probably 10 times higher. And not everybody can afford what you can, Barry. But we wait for you to invite us for next one. Absolutely. Everybody happy for that? Yes? Very, very good. Thank you for that. Yes, so yeah, Sagrantino and Montefalco are the two names for these DOCG status, and since 1992 they are representing the top end of the wines of Umbria. The blends for Montefalco usually are Sagrantino, Sangiovese, we know everything about Sangiovese, and Merlot as an international grape variety to cut through and give it a little bit more of flavoursomeness.
Mm-hmm.
Ima,
Yes, the blend I think is worth it to be done, because the Sagrantino is one of the grape that is really recognizable for its tannin content, and in the past it have been put on the side because it was difficult to kind of manage this kind of tannin. Is when you talk about tannin and you know you are in your wine course and you try the wine, you say, oh, this wine is tannin. Someone is gonna say no, you say it's tannin because you never tried the Sagrantino. Yeah. But in this case, Arnaldo Caprai in this version as Montefalco Rosso, that's the point, that it's just a small amount of Sagrantino and you do have the Sangiovese. So you got a nice acidity to balance the tannin, and then you have the Merlot that helps to smooth a bit everything. It's just like a bond between all of three of them. The Sagrantino, the name is coming from the word sacro, because it used to be used during the riti sacri, sacred rites. I don't know, sorry, my English. And so it was used by the priest in the past. But then it have been developed in the whole Umbria as a great grape, because it does a wines that if it's really managed during the winemaking with the oak used, it can give you a lot of satisfaction and a long potential aging. When it comes to the Montefalco Rosso DOC, yes, there is the possibility to use more Sangiovese, because as we said the last time, the Sangiovese is that grape that is able to shape and to change its shape everywhere it goes. And even in Umbria, it helps to be like a mountain wine in a way, and helps the Sagrantino to be more balanced, if we can say that. But I do advise you to try the Sagrantino itself. So maybe you can find the Sagrantino di Montefalco and have the possibility to really find a nice version of what is the best tannin that you can find in Italy. Of course, we put on the side the Nebbiolo and the Aglianico, but yet in the central Italy, you do have this amazing expression as well that is worth it to try.
Sorry, I was just, I couldn't resist. I had this slice of salami in front of me, which is, I can't tell you how perfect, you know. Maybe we should send some salami with next tasting.
Well, yeah.
You were just calling me. I mean, what a wine. Incredible. It matures in oak. You got obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, this one does do 12 months in Slovenian oak. But let's talk about the story of Caprai, that is one of the most important producer. Yeah, what do you think?
Yes, so Arnaldo Caprai is one of those examples in Italian wine producing in which a very successful entrepreneur starts making wine. I had the pleasure to meet one of those individuals not long ago. Sorry if I don't remember the name. He was in an area in Romagna, and he said he made a lot of money by inventing something in the ice cream industry. I don't remember what. And he said to me, people want to make wine to make money. I instead decided to make money to make wine. And it's that relation between the fact that usually you do make wine because you got a huge passion in it, and not always it works out by giving back in the form of making you extremely rich person. However, people like Arnaldo Caprai are one of those examples in which the great entrepreneur took on a wine business and really sort of made a huge success out of it. And, you know, we're talking about huge investments, especially in the technological side of things. The winery has a collaboration with the University of Milan, in which they did lots of research to find special clone of Sagrantino and see how they react with different aging, etc. All these, as you may understand, you know, is quite a lot of resources and pull a lot of energy and an amount of money that's not always is affordable by all wine producer. And all of these made the way for Arnaldo Caprai to be one of the top producers in the area. Paolo Bea is one of the other ones, but I think his philosophy differs. Yes, so this is about Arnaldo Caprai, a great entrepreneur that became a name in wine, which is not always the case. We know about huge celebrities and businessmen that took on the business of wine and didn't do a great work with it. So yeah, chapeau to him. Very, very good. And cheers, everyone.
I was thinking we could pair this with the Burger King Whopper.
Yes, Barry, I got one for you. Burger King Whopper with this, but please, with no buns and no sauces.
With cheese, though.
Onions, all right. Onions,
Cheese,
all right.
come on.
Ima, what do you think about these wines? Beautiful.
I have to say this is after the Passito. This is my favorite in the selection this evening because it's really enjoyable, and I do feel the tannin of the Sagrantino, but I do enjoy the easy drinking style of this wine, and is well made because the finish is long. And yes, you do have 12 months in oak, and you can feel it, but the fruit is on the center of this wine as well, and be a blend of 3 grapes, and then be able to feel the fruit still. That's a difficult thing to manage in a winemaking process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It doesn't overpower the fruit, you know,
Yeah.
fantastic. And when you said, you don't know the real effect of tannins until you try Sagrantino, that's very true. What you could do as well, if you're lucky enough to get an invitation one day or the other, or to enjoy a trip to Piemonte, you should go to the Barolo and Barbaresco preview tasting. It's amazing. You have all the producers of Barbarolo and Barbaresco, and unfortunately, in my wine career, it was far too early for me to face such a challenge. But I remember we had like 180 wines to taste, and at the 4th wine, I just couldn't speak anymore. I was, Sagrantino is one of them. But yeah, if you go into a preview of Barbaresco and Barolo, it's not too bad, because obviously we know that with the age, obviously the tannins soften. So the more the wine is up to aging, and the more violent will be the tannins in early stage. I'm sure you agree with me. But is one of the pleasures of wine, tannins, and lots of people are identifying in tannins one of the characteristics to make that wine of great quality. So yes, full marks for that, I have to say. Pairing, charcuterie, I vouch for that. Charcuterie is perfect. Medium A cheese, I vouch for that as well. And I pass it on to you, Ima, because I have a munch of the cheese, please.
Well, this one will be nice with the red meat. I will keep the idea of grilled meat, like a nice, you can have a sirloin steak, or if you prefer something a little bit fatter, like a ribeye with a little bit of butter and some rosemary, you know, just a little balsamic notes as well, because you can match the nose of this wine. It's really, it's one of my favorites this evening, and I'm surprised I still have an hint in my glass.
I've only got a little bit left.
Commercially speaking, under 20 quid, a wine like this is a bargain. I don't know what you think about it. And please do remember that on top of that, you can get discount if you laugh at my jokes. Good. So let's move on. And let's go on to another legend of Central Italy. And I have to say, probably the most popular of them all, which is Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, the 3rd wine. And we have to say, when was up to choose with Montepulciano d'Abruzzo to go to, you have, I think it's probably the most incredible range of prices. You can choose Montepulciano d'Abruzzo on the Tesco Finest series for less than 7 quid. Still a very good product, I have to say. You know, you don't go and buy it, you buy it from me. But, or you can just go to the top end with products like Masciarelli, the one that we're tasting tonight, which really are, you know, one of the wines there, one of the, you know, the best wine that Italy makes. And we're going to talk briefly about Masciarelli in a second, and the speciality. And Abruzzo itself, as a winemaking region, is a region that is geographically touched by the sea on one side. It's got the really high side of the Apennini on the inland side, and you know is for this reason apt to winemaking on the coastal area. Very famous for Trebbiano, d'Abruzzo, very famous for Montepulciano d'Abruzzo. And I have to say, you can get producers like Valentini that make, you know, top level, both Trebbiano and Montepulciano. And Montepulciano d'Abruzzo is one of the most famous wines of Italy. But please note, it's quite distinct from the Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, even if they got the same name, because Vino Nobile di Montepulciano is from a place in Tuscany called Montepulciano, a town, while in here, Montepulciano is the name of the actual grape. And the other one is a Sangiovese-based wine, and this one is obviously the name of the grape itself. Don't worry, the Italians are making the same sort of confusion all the time. When we're talking about Montepulciano, you need to be very careful, especially, and we got some here that can vouch for that, if you're talking with somebody from Tuscany, because obviously Tuscan people are very, I can see you smiling down there. Andre, number one, Tuscan people are very Tuscan, and they swap the C with the H. It's true. They talk Toscan. They're not Toscan. Montepulciano d'Abruzzo was, the DOC is one of the oldest in Italy, created in 1968. And the area in which it's produced is vast, and you can really get to sort of high yields for that sort of grape. But let's go and introduce you to Montepulciano d'Abruzzo Villa Gemma from Masciarelli, vintage 2014. I had the pleasure to keep a bottle for myself of 2013, but I won't tell you about that. The producer, Masciarelli itself, is sort of gravitated around the name of Gianni Masciarelli, which is always been, since inception of his azienda, one of the name of Italian wine. Since 1981, which makes it 40 years as we speak, really a symbol of Italian wine. And this winery produces different lines. There is a classic line, a Gianni Masciarelli line, Villa Gemma that we taste in 9, Marina Cvetic, which is the name of Gianni's wife, and Castello di Semivicoli. The winery really is the embodiment of a person and of somebody that is really striving for perfection, and everything he does is sort of very is one of those, you know, there are very few in the Italian scope that, you know, can be there with Gianni Masciarelli. Very unfortunately, he died suddenly in 2008, very tragically. His wife, Marina Cvetic, has taken the reign of the azienda since then. And she is one of the first women in winemaking that really sort of brought up a great trend that made the way and paved the way for so many women to do so amazingly well in the Italian winemaking. So much so that she's been recognized by many as you know, one of the first. And as we were discussing with Ima and Paolo before, the subject obviously is hot, but you know, until 20 years ago, women in wine weren't so many. And now we go a real movement of women winemakers that are really making a difference in quality. And another note about Marina that I had the pleasure to meet when we first opened our shop in South Kensington is she was the only producer that came and say hi in the first week of opening. And you know, we opened a couple of bottles of wine, and you know, such a pleasure to be with, and you know, very grateful for her, just for the fact that she noticed us, and she's so committed to the success of Italian wine generally. And I was humbled by meeting her and having this opportunity. Should we talk about the wine?
Yeah.
We get prepared for yet another.
Smells amazing.
Very, very good. I'm really sorry, Sonia. I think I just
the dregs.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of debris
Sediment.
at the end of the bottle, so I think the sediment, you got away with it wildly. I left it all for Mrs. Czerneka, which doesn't play very well.
Still
for the rest
smells
of the year.
nice.
Still smells very
For
nice.
the rest of the year.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you say right. The people is confused between Montepulciano and Vino Nobile di Montepulciano. While Vino Nobile di Montepulciano is a town, and Montepulciano is a grape famous in Abruzzo, and is a red grape that is used as well for make. Is a really versatile because you can make white wines as well in the Cerasuolo d'Abruzzo version, or you can make rosé wine, and you make really powerful red wine and passito wines. Is start to be famous for the first for the production of passito and then for the production of dry red wine. The Montepulciano d'Abruzzo is a really powerful style, but obviously less tannin that you can find in the other one. But it's, as already on the color, you can see that it's a deep red, no? So it got a lot of
very inky.
Yeah, a lot of nose complexity, but all of them is based on the fruit, like cherry or kirsch, because the alcohol in it is really high. But it's still nice balanced. And this Montepulciano, in especially, does 36 months in barrique. So you got 3
In
years.
barrique, small 225 liters oak barrels.
Okay.
So in this case, you do have a lot of contact with the wood. You do expect a tertiary note from this wine, but again, after 7 years, the fruit is on top of everything, at least for me. So this gives you the idea of how powerful is this grape. And still in the Montepulciano is grown as a pergola. So you do have this kind of traditional methods of making the wine that is not the normal cordone speronato Guyot, but you do have a pergola system that in the past used to be like a big gazebo tendone. I don't know, how do you explain in English?
So
this?
the normal Guyot system is where the plants are sort of put one after the other and they link together in a sort of row. While if you talk about a terrace one, is the two plants are sort of going up together and then forming a sort of pergola in the middle of the in between the two rows. And these obviously allows the sun to make a job of itself and offers protection from the sun for all the fruits that are underneath.
Yeah, we do have a question about the sensation of closing in the mouth. Yes, it's the tannin, but in this case is as well the previous Sagrantino. So if you wash your mouth a little bit with water and then you try it again, you will see the difference between the two. So yes, the sensation incoming from the tannin that is driven as well from the barrique, but is not that crazy sensation. I think it's really enjoyable. I'm able still to talk. If it would be now a Nebbiolo or 2018 and everything, now my mouth would be shut, basically.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Very good. I think the depth and the spiciness of it. I love, you can find, I love licorice generally, so I find it everywhere. But when I find such a pure sort of licorice undertone in there, I think it's fantastic. And it doesn't happen very often that we get these sort of levels wines in the tasting. But don't worry about the price mark of £57. As I said, I give you generous discounts for any order coming to me in the next few days.
Yeah,
and Barry just ordered 12 bottles because he said that's not expensive enough.
Yeah, it is a nice expression of Montepulciano, and the tannin is balanced. What would you eat? They are asking with Montepulciano.
Where do we start?
Yeah, here you need a mouth-watering food that it can be. Let's think about it. A nice Fiorentina, for example, even if we are not in Tuscany.
The bone, beef Wellington, Mrs. Cernecca quite rightly say. So any sort of meaty dishes with spiciness in it, or recipes that are sort of flavoring meats, I will go for that. Or
even the cheese.
Yeah, cheese is going extremely well, and I think you can sort of experiment with this wine because it's quite versatile. Here we go. Well done, Trudy. I can see you're on the ball with that. What's everyone eating, by the way? Anybody having? I think we should have a competition next tasting.
Wild boar.
Wild
yummy.
boar. Oh, very
Yes,
nice.
please.
Wild boar. Wild boar ragu tagliatelle. One of my favorite. Absolutely.
Stew.
Absolutely, because the wildness of that sort of can we say tangy sort of flavor to the wild meat is what really makes it for this wine. Yes, I will go for it. Let's go.
Foxes are not quite the same.
We only have wild foxes. Well, unless Brexit put any more
Be chewy.
Chewy.
play to it, I think you can get quite a lot of wild boar in Italy. So I think we pretty much okay. Again, natural wine, absolutely committed to not deviating from any natural ways of how the wine is produced. I think 36 months in barrique and getting this sort of balance is incredible. This is what I think. Should we move on? Do we have to? Well, let's see if next wine is worth having to. Let's see if I can see Francesco. Francesco, are you there?
Hello.
Francesco, ladies and gentlemen, Francesco Bordini. I met Francesco. I think you are one of the. I was talking to Marco Primozic the other week. I think you are part of the group of very, very lucky winemakers that got me in inception of my strange ideas on what we're going to do with Italian wine in the UK. And we were quite a group, weren't we, at the time? And I met Francesco. Francesco is one of the siblings owning Villa Papiano, which is the producer of next wine we have. And the wine is so special, particular, and the person itself is so special and particular because Francesco is an amazing winemaker and he's a name in the winemaking of Romagna itself, and he's been for many years going. Because I think your father started all and took you under his wing, and you do quite a lot of work around the Romagna area. You're working with quite a lot of producers in there. But let you talk about Romagna, let you talk about Villa Papiano, and let you talk about Tregenda, which is this wine. I'm going to try an exercise now. I'm just going to say, is Tregenda Albana di Romagna, Passito, Riserva, Vendemmia Tardiva, DOCG, Villa Papiano. No wonder you called it Tregenda. It's much easier, is it? Please go ahead, Francesco. Tell us about Romagna. Tell us about Albana. Tell us about you and this amazing wine.
Thank you very much, Bruno. Unfortunately, my English is not very well, and I hope to speak.
Your English is very well. Very, very well.
So, for me, it's always a big pleasure to talking about my region, about Emilia-Romagna. Emilia-Romagna is a big region where you can find two different areas, Emilia and Romagna. The Emilia is the west side of our region, where the variety was most cultivated are Lambrusco and Malvasia. And Romagna is the east part of our region and is the area which is nearest to the sea and to the mountain who divide Romagna from Tuscany. And in this area, you can find especially two varieties that are Sangiovese and Albana. Today we talk about Albana. Albana is an incredible variety because it was the second oldest variety who was described in the story. After Pinot Noir, the second oldest variety described in the story is Albana. The first description of Albana was more or less 800 years ago. And it's very important because the character of Albana is very similar to the wild grape. In fact, this variety has a very, very big grape, very long grape, with a very strong skin, with a very high acidity, and a particular thing that is it's a white wine, but has a lot of tannin. And this character is typical of few white variety of Italy.
I got a question, because last time I got told off heavily by Marco Primozic. Is it tannic or is it phenolic?
Well, I think both. Because
okay. You're very diplomatic. Yeah, I was about to get fired, but you know, that's fine. I'm happy
so
you
see, can find the tannin in Malvasia, in Albana, in Vernazza, and sometimes in Trebbiano. And so in few Italian variety, you can find the beautiful tannin in the white variety. Albana is very interesting because with Albana, you can obtain beautiful dry wine that are very structured white wine, but you can find and enjoy when you use Albana for producing sweet wine. Albana is beautiful for producing sweet wine because it has a very high acidity that you can use for balancing the sweetness of the variety. And because the very strong skin of Albana are very beautiful to obtain the late harvest. We like to say that Albana is the Chenin Blanc and the Semillon of the center of Italy, because you can use it for producing beautiful wine with the long maturation of the skin, like you can say with Chenin Blanc. And you can use Albana for producing late harvest, like with Semillon.
Can I just open a bracket?
Yes.
We discussed last time about Passiti.
Yes.
And we spoke about Amarone, Recioto, Valpolicella, etc., etc. And it was mentioned when you leave your grape on the actual plant and what happened there. Can you just explain to us in a very sort of straightforward way what happened there?
Yes. So in general, you can say that there are three methods for producing sweet wine. The Governo alla Toscana, that is the typical system used for Vinsanto, where you can cut the grape from the plant, and the drying is made in home in the cellar. And so the drying is an oxidative drying. Because
oxidation, it comes from oxidation instead of coming from...
Yes. Yeah. And so in general, in this kind of method, the flavor become in complexity of the dry fruit, for example. And in general, in this condition, the acidity go down. And so if the acidity go down, you can tasting more the sugar level, okay?
Correct.
The second style is the late harvest. And the late harvest is when you maintain the grape on the plant. And the drying can be made by the botrytis or by the ice. And so you can have the late harvest with botrytis or the ice wine. Okay?
Botrytis is a, how do you call it? A
fungi is normally is considered a disease for the plant.
Yeah, disease, yeah, but it's a fungus.
Yeah, disease, but is a little fungi that can live in the skin of the grape, and this fungi for living can use the water that is inside to the bunch,
and then dries so, the fruit by consequence.
And so exactly. And this is very interesting because these fungi live inside and outside to the bunch. And so the part of the fungi who live inside to the bunch increases the flavor of the juice. And so one of the most popular flavor of the late harvest is the saffron flavor. And this is a typical flavor of the botrytis.
We got a question from Barry. Does the color come from rust or rot? It doesn't come from rust, for sure.
No.
It doesn't come from rot. I think the Albana usually is a darker.
Yes. Well,
I think the skin
is a variety very rich in phenol. Okay, and so the color in general is always a little bit dark, but during the drying, the color go up.
Of course, it's like the raisins that become brown from white grapes. Same.
Absolutely. So in general, the most popular flavor of Albana is the flavor of apricot. But in general, during the drying, the late harvest, you can find apricot, saffron, and citrus orange flavor too. So now we can start talking about Regenda and about my estate, because Villa Papiano is the highest estate that there is in my region. We are at 500 meters above the sea level in a completely semi-solid. In this condition, the harvest is always naturally very late, and the grape maintain a very high acidity. And for us, it's a big pleasure because in this condition, we are safety to the global warming, we like to say. And this is interesting, especially when we want to producing late harvest and sweet wine, because we like to imagine our sweet wine with wines that has a very light sugarness, but they are a very light freshness too. And for obtain a fresh sweet wine is necessary to have a late harvest and a very high yield. Albana is beautiful because it has a very strong skin, and so we can start to collect the first grape of Albana in general at the end of September, and then we continuing to make harvest every week in general, where grape by grape the drying go up. Consider that we collect the grape when the sugar level is more or less 300 grams per liter, and is a very, very, very high level of sugar. And it's very important because this wine we can start the fermentation in the barrel to obtain 10, 11 alcohol. But if you have a very high level of sugar in the juice, you can maintain a natural, very high level of sugar in the wine too. And this is one of the most interesting things of Albana, because Albana is a plant that can obtain a very, very high level of sugar. And so very sweet wine, but wine with a very beautiful acidity. And this is the beautiful condition to have a sweet wine, to drinking beautiful cheese, beautiful foie gras, and all the meal that has a very important amount of fat inside.
Yeah, we were noticing last time when we were sipping Recioto on how important is the balance between the acidity and the sweetness. Because if the wine is a sweet wine that goes into the sweet too much, it becomes very heavy and difficult to drink. But this wine is not difficult to drink, is it? I don't know what everybody else is thinking out there, but I can go through that.
It's not that difficult.
It's not difficult. I think Kimma will agree.
Yeah, I finished it twice.
She stole mine. She stole mine.
consider that this wine have an acidity which is so similar to a champagne or a very metodo classico sparkling wine, and so a very high acidity to balancing the very high level of sugar.
Yeah, and it's great to think that even if it's a late harvest, has this high acidity. It's amazing. I love this wine, not because it's you the producer, but I really love this wine. And it's the grapefruit that I have in my mouth with a little bit of bitterness, but the acidity of this wine, but it's not only there, is amazing. It's really amazing. And yes, I finished almost Paolo glass as well.
Yeah.
But because it's worth it
She's
to do
stolen.
it, no? It's the kind of wine that you can drink it as aperitif, you can drink it all day. You say foie gras. I was just mentioned to Bruno before, oh, it would be good with the foie gras. It does have an acidity that can cut the fat in it. It's amazing. I would drink it like
Even
this, just
alone.
the bottle alone with nothing. It
Yeah.
doesn't need pairing at all.
Funny. And I have a question about food pairing, but before that, I need to explain what's happening with us and Ima every week. Ian is asking, please send Ima double rations for next week. You must know that Ima gets double rations anyway because the Tregenda comes in a 500 ml bottle, so all the division of the doses is sort of playing differently. Basically, we had this quarter of a bottle left, and I very kindly donated to Ima. But that was gone the same evening, and she started complaining that
No, it's true.
rations should double from that. So please do not think that I'm starving the sommeliers out there, because I really don't. What is let's hear from Francesco. What would you pair this with? Be creative and don't mention wild animals, please. Francesco, gone.
Yes.
3, 2, 1. Here you are. What would you pair these with?
In other variety or in my region?
No. Food. Which food would you?
Yes. Well, in general, we like to eat with the goat and sheep cheese of my region.
Oh, goat cheese.
Yes, is the best meal because it has a very particular cheese and is beautiful to drinking with this wine. A lot of people like to use drinking this wine with the come si chiama?
Cassata siciliana. No.
Yes, all come si chiamano le torte?
Dillo in italiano, dopo io chiedo.
Le torte col formaggio, aiutami.
Cheesecake.
Cheesecake.
Yes,
Cheesecake.
with the cheesecake in general is beautiful because you have a very interesting meal to using it.
Wow.
Yeah, cheesecake, lemon cheesecake, like orange lemon cheesecake.
My most important consumer in Milan use Tregenda with the lobster, and so
With lobster.
And
You
I
should try
have
that.
it.
Oh no, you don't do lobster.
I don't do lobster.
Oh, you don't. Mrs. Chen
not?
doesn't do lobster. Oh, it's all right. I love it all myself. What about dark chocolate? Andrea is asking.
Yeah, that's what I've written to my mum.
Oh, I'm sorry, Andrea. Why are you stealing the show from my wife? Don't you ever do that again.
I put very bitter dark
Yeah,
chocolate.
what about very bitter dark chocolate then? Please say that she's
With
right.
you, Andrew.
Why not?
Francesco,
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
It was a very quiet why not? Dark chocolate, yes or no?
I never taste. I don't know.
Ah, you don't know? Okay. Well,
But we can try.
we'll have to try. Why not?
Maybe later.
Andrea and I will try. Don't worry.
Andrea, you got dates. Fantastic. Tell us the 3 things that you love the most about this wine. Please, Francesco.
Well, first of all, the salty acidity.
The salty acidity.
Yes.
Yes, very good. Yeah.
Second aspect is the saffron flavor.
Saffron.
And the third aspect is the apricot flavor.
which is characteristic of Albana.
Yes, because the saltiness and is the character of our Monte. The saffron is the character of the botrytis, and the apricot is the character of Albana.
We can test honey. Glenn is quite rightly saying, yes, we can test honey.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Honey, absolutely. Everybody agrees.
Mandarin.
Absolutely.
And now you said apricot, I taste.
And now you
apricot.
said apricot because yeah, he's there. Mandarin, yes.
I had caramel.
True.
I like those sort of that sort of peel more than the fruit itself. That sort of peel sensation, which I love. I love. And we were joking with Imma and Paolo yesterday because yeah, I was driving back to London very late at night after all these deliveries of kids, and
Marmalade.
yeah, marmalade, yeah,
Apricot.
yeah, and
Apricot.
we were just listing everything we could find in this wine, and I think I went from London to Surrey, just the listing all the things that we can find it there. It's so complex. You find so much, and you just leave it there and go back to it and find even more. And it's so unique.
If you find it.
And it's so and it's just so unique. So I'm sure you're all gonna join me in thanking Francesco for his intervention so much. And you don't know, the real secret of this event is having Your Highness here talking to us about the product he makes. And trust me, Francesco, I think he's 7 foot or something. How tall are you, Francesco? I want everybody to know, because I can see you when I go into the wine fairs from the distance. So you see all these people, and then there's Francesco.
Sure, exactly.
You don't need a sign.
Because it's higher. It's
You must
taller.
be like 3 meters or something, are you?
It's the natural selection of Darwin. Okay.
Absolutely. Do you sell more of this wine to women? Trudy just stole mine.
Like happened to me before.
We just quicker, no.
I finished mine before Sonia could get all the way, so I think
I was listening.
Got some. I've still got some.
Marmalade and Honey, we have Winnie the Pooh and Paddington in the tasting. Fantastic. Well done, Magic. That's really funny, actually. Really good. Winnie the Pooh and
Grandma
Paddington.
says her glass is empty.
Oh, glass is empty. Anybody wants to double up on the kits next week?
More than 3, please.
Absolutely. Any more questions? Oh, how much is it? How much is it? How much is it? Good question. I just keep there. It is, you know, it's splendor. We talk everything about Francesco. I hope you get all the slides on the same evening. I usually send them over. Let me know if you don't get them by any chance, and I'll send it to you personally. This is £35 for half a liter bottle. Bargain.
Wow.
And, Francesco, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
Because I had this wine for few vintages. I think I started with 2008 or something like that when we first started together and stuff like that. What is 2013 got to do with this wine? So what is how much is the vintage sort of influencing the final product?
Well, in the late harvest, the effect of the vintage is enormous.
Oh, is it?
Because,
or the contrary?
Yes, because the time that the grape stays in the vineyard is very, very long. And especially the last 40 days are very important, because if the weather is very sunny, the drying is made by the sun and only a few about with the botrytis.
Less botrytis, yeah.
Yes. When the weather is wet and cold, the botrytis work more, and so the flavor change. And so there are different vintage and different style of this wine. 2013 was a very balanced vintage, because the September was beautiful. In fact, You remember that for all the red wine of Italy, 2013 was a very beautiful vintage. And so during the September, October, the Albana stayed very well and has a very good level of sugar. And in the second part of October and during November arrives the fog and few good rain, and so the botrytis work very well. And so it's a balanced vintage where you can find the concentration and the flavor of botrytis. For example, 2014 was very cold and very wet, and so you can find a lot of botrytis flavor, but less concentration. 2012 was the opposite because it was very hot, and so a lot of concentration, but less flavor of botrytis.
Wow. I got another question for you. Sorry, I'm on. You know, this wine really sort of stimulates good questions. Aging.
Yes.
Well, how long is this going to last? And how does it develop on the age sort of? Can we be safe and think of how we can taste in 5, 10 years time or 15 years time?
Okay, so consider that in this kind of wine, you can make a lot of different harvests during the season. And so the different harvests are fermented in different barriques. And so the first step of the aging is the fermentation and the aging in barrique. And in general, it's 7-8 months. At the end of the spring, after the vintage, there is the blend of the different harvest, and immediately the wine go in bottle. And so this wine have 8 months of aging in barrique, and then a very, very long aging in bottle. And it's very important because the sugar must combine with the flavor and with the acidity, and the bottle is fantastic for this kind of job. During the barrique, there is oxidative élevage, and after 7-8 months is enough. And so the second step is the aging with a low level of oxygen, and it is in the bottle. When this wine goes in the bottle, the life is very, very long. In general, we say that this wine is suitable after a few years, and the best is after 10 years. After 20 years, this wine is in general beautiful.
So you had a 20 years old.
Yes, absolutely.
I can start to buy now.
Consider that in my region, in Romagna, especially, the oldest bottles that you can find are late harvest of Albana. And in general, is typical when a baby is born, you can collect a bottle of late harvest of Albana to use when the baby is 20, or for the vintage of the
I see. He's a very you used to have Albana as a wetting the baby head sort of present.
Sure. It's typical. The Passito and late harvest of Albana are typical because the life is very, very long.
Great idea. I can tell you, I don't think this wine is going to last 20 years in our household.
And Mom's asking how much is a bottle of 20-year-old?
How much is a bottle of 20 years old? Have you got any available? You don't stop me, but we can get it. Yeah.
In general, every 10 years, the price is double. And so after 10 years, the 35 becoming 70. After 20 years, the 70 becoming 140.
So this one is a 2013. We are in 2021. So
Yes,
this, instead of costing £35, it should cost £47.50. Joking, guys, joking. Still £35. What is the flower on the label? John is asking.
Well, this is the story of the typical towels of my region.
Oh, the towels. Okay, yeah. The embroidering.
Label. I don't know if you see it.
Yeah.
And you can find it in the towels of.
Yeah, embroidering in the tabletops and bits and pieces.
Oh, in the linen.
In the linen, yeah. Fabulous.
What are you laughing at?
I don't know. I think Paolo didn't have enough Albana di Romagna. The last question.
I did enough.
Because we asked this to every single one of our guests. Can we come and visit you if we organize whenever this ends?
Well, for
months
me,
or years or decades.
For me, will be a big pleasure because visiting Emilia-Romagna, visiting our mountain is always beautiful. Because in general, all the people think Romagna of the seaside, but our mountains are absolutely beautiful. We have beautiful forest and beautiful place to visit. And so we have beautiful museum and a beautiful place and especially beautiful meals. Remember that Emilia-Romagna is called the Food Valley. And so everywhere you can drink and eat beautiful things.
Excellent. So this is the moment in which, thank you so much, Francesco. Thank you, Imma and Paolo. As always, thank all of you for taking part. This has been amazing, really, really good. Imma, the selection, really well done. I think we've done a great work there. I'm going to stop the recording there. And then for anyone who wants to stay, I know Ilaria and Roberto left. Ciao, if you're still there, thank you. If you want to stay and have a chit chat in front of whatever is left of the wine that you had before, then please do so. And I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you, everybody, for watching.